Hi guys, a very good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those were all of the top headlines that we're tracking for you this morning. So clearly we have a lot to get to. But first up, let's take a look at what's happening with the global markets. Of course, very limited cues coming in because the US was shut on account of the Labor Day holiday. But Asia has opened higher and most of them in the green right now. So Hang Seng is trading with gains of around 0.3%. You have the Taiwanese index on your screen as well. That's seeing a move of around 50 points higher. So 0.3% there as well. Some of the other Asian markets, for example, the Nikkei, Shanghai, all of them seeing some minor gains. It's no big move across Asia, but most of them are higher. Kospi is the only one which is seeing just a minor downtick right now at the start of the trading session. So that's what's happening in the Asian markets. The SGX Nifty is also up on your screen, indicating perhaps a mildly higher start, just around 20 points higher on the SGX Nifty, and it has come off a little bit in the past 10-15 minutes or so as well. Of course, like I told you, the US markets were shut yesterday for the Labor Day holiday, but the Dow futures are moving higher now, around 185 points in the green. Meanwhile, European markets didn't do so well, so those indices will be up on your screen. And we saw most of them close lower on concerns over Russia's energy supply to the region. So the German DAX index is up on your screen. It saw, actually, it was a big underperformance, saw cuts of over 2%, 2.2% lower there. The French CAC was down 1%, while the British FTSE closed absolutely flat, just around 6 points in the green. So that's what's happening as far as the European markets go. Now, gas prices soared around 30% on Monday after Russia shut off gas flows to Europe via the Nord Stream 2 pipeline indefinitely. Now, in currency markets, the euro also dropped below 0.99 to the dollar mark for the first time in 20 years on Monday morning. It did, however, recover some of the earlier losses, but this is a level that we have not seen in a very long time. Now, after Liz Truss was named the UK's next Prime Minister, that was the big political development that came through. Deutsche Bank said that policy announcements in the coming week will be crucial to avoid some extreme macroeconomic events. It also warned that the risk of a sterling crisis should not be underestimated. So that's what's coming through as far as the European markets go. The US might be shut, but we have a lot of action to track from the European markets. But let's talk about all of the cues that you should be tracking as we get into a brand new trading session. We have Sonal joining us, and she's going to take us through all of the stocks as well as the trade setup that we are looking at. So Sonal as well as Mangalam, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. So Sonal, like we pointed out, not too much in terms of global cues, but it was a good session for our own markets yesterday. What should we watch today?
Well, yes, it was a good session for our own markets yesterday. We have been bucking the global trend, right, Pavitra? And that is something that is expected today as well. As you pointed out, US markets are shut. But as far as our markets are concerned, minor intraday dips got bought yesterday. In fact, we closed at a day's high. Nifty was up 126 points and Nifty is stuck within a range now of 17,300 on the downside and 17,800 on the upside and is comfortably above its 20-day moving average. As far as the flow data is concerned, we saw that FIIs, they sold around 812 crore rupees, which was a bigger jump if we compare it to the previous day. And DIIs, they bought around 534 crore rupees in the cash market. US market shut overnight, so not a big queue coming in from the global markets. However, if we talk about the European markets, they were largely lower because of the energy crisis that we are talking about and the gas supplies which have been shut to the European region. Currency market on the back of which came into focus, euro at a two-decade low of $0.99, and we were also talking about how UK has a new prime minister, so sterling moves will be watched out for. And yesterday we saw that sterling was at a 2.5-year low of $1.14. Asian markets largely mixed. We have some green on the screen as far as Hang Seng and Taiwanese index are concerned. SGX Nifty that has come off from the highs is indicating an uptick of 19 points. But we'll have to see which way things go because our markets have really been following the reverse of what SGX Nifty is indicating. Crude oil prices, they will be in focus because OPEC Plus will cut output by $100,000 a barrel, which is just 0.1% of the global demand. But it is a start of a cycle where production cuts are being announced. So definitely crude prices will be in focus as well. And that is something which impacts Indian markets as well.
All right, Sonal, thanks a lot for laying out all of those cues that we should keep on our radar, but also talking about the individual stocks that we should watch. Take us through that list as well.
Well, not many stocks which will be in focus, but a couple of them which do have news flow for them. Narayana Health has acquired a Bengaluru hospital for 200 crore rupees. They have signed pact with Shiva and Shiva Orthopedic Hospital and will be acquiring that one. NTPC has acquired Jhabua Power while corporate insolvency route. Reliance Industries will be in focus. It is a small acquisition, 79.5 3.4% stake in SenseX Inc. for a total of $32 million. The size is small, but it's important because this company is a developer of software-based management tools for the solar energy generation industry. So one step ahead in their green energy foray that the company has been talking about. ONGC All India in focus because, as we said, OPEC Plus has cut production overnight, has announced production cut overnight, and that is something that will impact crude prices and ultimately these oil producers as well. Veranda Learning will consider fundraising options on September 14th. So all these stocks will be in focus today.
All right, Sonal, thanks a lot for taking us through that entire list. Finally, let's also bring Mangalam in, and he's looking at all of the cues from the futures and options space. Mangalam.
Well, yesterday the US markets were shut, and the proverbial when the cat is away, mice are out to play actually played out. We rallied, and we rallied on low volumes. The FIs, why they sold on about 812 crores in the cash markets. The DIs bought around 534 crores. The FI gross volumes were between 4,500 and 5,000 odd crores, much lower than what we see on an average, and that was primarily on account of the US market holiday. But what also took place was the Nifty September futures, which was close to around 23 points in terms of premium, spiked to around 44 points, and that was telling you that there was short covering, and that short covering propelled the up move even further. Because if you look at it, the previous trading session, the FIs had sold big in index futures. Their longs were just about 19%. Here they bought around 1,100 odd crores. They added around 3,800 longs, and at the same time covered close to 9,000 short contracts on expected lines because the shorts weren't getting any follow through in yesterday's trading session. So now their longs have inched from 19% to 23%, though be mindful of the fact that the shorts are still at around 77%. In options as well, the FI has covered some short calls, so we saw them cover almost 12,500 short contracts, but importantly they wrote 55,000 short puts. So that's telling you that lower levels are finding some support. What are those levels? Well, 17,600 and 17,500 puts were extremely active in yesterday's trading session, both of them adding together close to around 50 lakh shares in open interest. The 17,600 put has a premium of almost 95 odd rupees, so that's telling you 17,500 is an important support mark to watch out for. But apart from that, the 20-day moving average of 17,613 will also be important to watch out for. And on the way up, last week's high of 17,777 is something that the street will keep an eye out on.
All right, Mangalam as well as Sonal, thank you for joining us and taking us through all of those cues that we should watch as we get into our fresh trading session. With that, it's time for our first short break in the show. But when we return, Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri says that India will carefully assess the G7's price cap on Russian oil, but national interest will drive any decision. More on that story when we come back.